3 months after the ceremony, humanity faced its greatest test. The Velaran Empire, desperate and humiliated, made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. They would destroy Earth or die trying. Admiral Deho received the warning from Hyun's intelligence network. "They're gathering everything," Hyun reported, his face grave on the communication screen. "Every ship the Velaran Empire can field. Allied forces from 2 other species. Current count is 40,000 vessels." 40,000, Deho repeated. He stood on the bridge of the Absolute Resolve, looking at the tactical display. The numbers seemed impossible. The largest military force in recorded history. "They're desperate," Taeyang said from his position at the tactical station. "The evidence we released damaged them badly. Other subjugated species are getting restless. The Kelthans declared independence last week. The Drexus are planning the same. If the Velaran lose Earth, their entire empire might collapse. So they're gambling everything on one massive attack." Deho nodded. "When?" 3 days, Hyun answered. "They're staging at the Arcturus Gate. They'll jump from there directly to Earth's system. Admiral, even with our technology, the numbers are overwhelming. 40,000 against our 1,200 ships." Deho looked at his senior officers. Taeyang, young but brilliant. Sos, who had proven himself in the first battle. Minji, whose engineering genius had made much of this possible. And others all ready to defend their homeworld. "We knew this might come," Deho said. "The collective won't let us go easily. They can't. If we win, if we prove that rebellion is possible, their whole system falls apart. So they're sending everything to crush us." "What are our orders, Admiral?" Seok asked. "We meet them at Arcturus Gate," Deho decided. "We fight them there, away from Earth. If we lose, at least we buy time for evacuation." "If we win," he smiled grimly. "If we win, we end this war permanently." The next 3 days were frantic preparation. Every human ship was checked and rechecked. Ammunition loaded. Systems tested. Pilots briefed. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone understood the stakes. Jiho worked on the Absolute Resolve's weapon systems, making sure every gravitational disruptor was calibrated perfectly. Hana coordinated logistics, ensuring supplies reached every ship. All across the fleet, humans prepared for what might be their last battle. Nari, humanity's first psionic warfare specialist, practiced her abilities in isolation. Her powers were new, discovered only recently. Under the stress of occupation, some humans had developed mental abilities. Telepathy, empathy projection, the ability to send thoughts and feelings directly into other minds. "You don't have to do this," Yuna told her. "Using your abilities on such a large scale could damage your mind." "If we lose, my mind won't matter," Nari replied. "None of our minds will matter. I'll do whatever it takes." The human fleet assembled at the edge of the solar system. 1,200 ships organized into combat groups, the Absolute Resolve at the center, flanked by heavy cruisers and carriers. Destroyer screens on the perimeter, fighter squadrons ready to launch. It looked impressive until you remembered they were about to face 40,000 enemies. "All ships reporting ready," Taeyang announced. "Quantum drives charged. We can jump on your command." Deho took a deep breath. He thought about Earth, the blue planet where humanity had been born, where his ancestors had lived and died, where his grandchildren might grow up free if he did his job right. "All ships," he broadcast to the fleet, "we're about to face impossible odds. The Velaran Empire thinks numbers will win this fight. They think they can overwhelm us with sheer force. They're about to learn why humanity survived 127 years of oppression, why we built this fleet in secret, why we never stopped fighting, even when it seemed hopeless." He paused, knowing his next words would be recorded for history. "We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every species the collective has oppressed. Every world held under false debt. Every being who dreams of freedom. Today we show them it's possible. Today we prove that determination and intelligence matter more than numbers. Today we win." The fleet jumped to quantum space. They emerged at Arcturus Gate simultaneously, 1,200 ships appearing in perfect formation. And there, waiting for them, was the Velaran Armada. 40,000 vessels stretched across space, a metal wall that seemed to go on forever. "Dear God," Seok whispered, seeing them for the first time. Emperor Thronbus broadcast a message across all channels. "Humans of Earth, you have one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons. Submit to collective authority. Your rebellion ends here." Admiral Deho replied simply, "No." The Velaran fleet opened fire. Space lit up with weapons fire. 40,000 ships unleashing everything they had. Missiles, energy beams, kinetic weapons. A storm of destruction aimed at the human fleet. The human shields held. Adaptive technology absorbed the first wave of attacks, learning and adjusting, but the sheer volume was overwhelming. Some shots got through. 3 human destroyers took damage. 1 carrier's shields failed. All ships return fire. Deho commanded. Execute Combat Plan Alpha. The human fleet moved with impossible coordination. Every ship connected through quantum communication, acting as a single organism. They didn't try to match the Velarans' firepower. Instead, they used precision and tactics. The gravitational disruptors fired, targeting the largest enemy vessels. Velaran dreadnoughts tore apart, their structure unable to withstand the molecular disruption. Each disruptor shot destroyed a ship that would have taken dozens of conventional weapons to bring down. Swarm drones launched from human carriers by the hundreds of thousands. They moved in perfect coordination, overwhelming enemy point defenses. They didn't destroy ships. They targeted specific systems, engines, weapons, communication arrays. Ship after ship went dark, disabled but intact. Jinwoo led his fighter squadron into the chaos. His neural link made him move faster than any organic pilot should be able to. He and his squadron danced between enemy fire, impossible to hit, destroying fighter after fighter. The enhanced pilots were force multipliers, each one worth 10 conventional pilots. But the numbers were still overwhelming. For every Velaran ship disabled, 2 more took its place. The human fleet was taking damage. Ships destroyed. Crews killed. The battle that was supposed to prove humanity's superiority was turning into a brutal slugging match. Admiral, we're losing ships faster than projected, Taeyang reported. At this rate, we'll be overwhelmed in 40 minutes. Deho looked at the tactical display. They were winning individual engagements. Human technology was superior, but there were simply too many enemies. Victory through conventional combat was impossible. Activate the Nari protocol, he ordered. Nari sat in her chamber deep in the absolute resolve, surrounded by neural amplifiers. She had been preparing for this moment. Her abilities, enhanced by technology humanity had developed specifically for this purpose, could reach across vast distances. She opened her mind. 40,000 enemy ships, millions of enemy crew members, all of them focused on destroying humanity. Nari reached out to them with her consciousness, amplified by the machines around her until her thoughts could touch every mind in the enemy fleet. And she showed them fear. Not manufactured fear, real fear. The fear humanity had felt for 127 years. The fear of children growing up in chains. The fear of parents watching their kids learn to be servants. The fear of an entire species wondering if they would ever be free. She showed them what they were doing. Made them feel what their victims felt. Made them understand, really understand what the collective had done to countless species. The effect was immediate. Across the Velaran fleet, crew members hesitated, questioned their orders. Some refused to fire. Others abandoned their posts. The massive armada's coordination began to break down. Nari pushed harder despite the pain building in her head. She broadcast images of the evidence humanity had gathered. The corruption, the false debts, the deliberate enslavement of species that should have been free. You're not defending your empire, her thoughts whispered to millions of minds. You're defending slavery. You're fighting to maintain a system built on lies and oppression. Is that really worth dying for? The Velaran fleet's attack faltered. Ships stopped firing. Entire squadrons powered down their weapons. Confusion spread through their ranks. Emperor Thronvus, watching from his flagship, realized what was happening. It's the human psionic! Blocker signal. Filter alt. Too late. His own crew members were looking at him with new understanding, seeing him not as a glorious leader, but as what he really was. A tyrant, a slaver, someone who had sent them to die to protect his power. Admiral Deho saw the opening. All ships cease fire, broadcast on all channels. His message went out to every ship in both fleets. Velaran soldiers. We don't want to kill you. We never did. We just want our freedom. The freedom you're fighting to deny us. Think about what you're doing. Think about who benefits from this war. Then decide if you really want to continue. The Velaran fleet broke, not all at once, gradually. Ship by ship they powered down weapons. Some turned and left. Others stayed but refused to fight. The massive armada, the largest force ever assembled, fell apart not through destruction but through doubt. Emperor Thronvas tried to rally them. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Quantum communication networks carried the story to every inhabited world within hours. Humanity, the enslaved species, had defeated the collective. The impossible had happened. Aaron stood in the Galactic Senate building on the neutral world of Concordia. She had been chosen as humanity's new ambassador, specifically because she had spent decades studying galactic politics. She knew every law, every treaty, every loophole. Now she would need all that knowledge. The Senate chamber was enormous, built to accommodate representatives from 300 species. Today it was packed. Everyone wanted to see the human who had the audacity to demand a hearing immediately after humiliating the collective. Ambassador Aaron of Earth, the Senate chairman announced. He was a Keltharian, a species known for strict neutrality. You have requested emergency session to address the Senate. You may speak. Aaron walked to the central platform. She carried no weapons. She wore simple clothes. But she carried something more powerful than any gun. The truth. Honored delegates, she began. For 127 years, my species lived under the rule of the Galactic Collective. We were told this was punishment for our aggression during first contact. We were told we must pay our debt to galactic society. We were told we deserved our fate. She activated a holographic display. Documents appeared in the air, visible to everyone in the chamber. These are the original surrender terms from 127 years ago. The debt was 500 trillion credits. According to the payment schedule, it should have been completed 83 years ago. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Aaron continued. But the debt wasn't completed. The collective added new charges, maintenance fees, administrative costs, interest that wasn't in the original agreement. They extended our servitude because we were useful. Because human workers were skilled and complained little, we were enslaved, pure and simple. The Velaran ambassador stood up, his forearms gesturing angrily. This is propaganda. Earth was treated fairly. They were recorded evidence, Aaron said calmly, expanding the display. Audio files of collective officials discussing how to extend the debt. Internal memos about keeping humanity working indefinitely. Profit reports showing how much the collective earned from our labor. The evidence played for everyone to hear. Velaran officials laughing about foolish humans. Discussing ways to add more years to the debt. Calculating profits from essentially free labor. We found these files years ago, Aaron explained. We cracked your encryption long before you realized we were capable of it. We know everything. Every secret deal. Every corrupt bargain. Every lie you told to keep us enslaved. She turned to address the full Senate. But Earth is not the only victim. The collective holds 16 other species under similar debts. The Kelthans, the Drexus, the Torvan people, all under extended servitude that should have ended decades ago. All kept working because they were profitable. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives from the mentioned species stood up, demanding answers. The Velaran delegation looked increasingly desperate. Aaron waited for silence, then continued. We fought for our freedom. We built weapons in secret. We prepared for this moment for over a century. Some will say we were deceitful, that we should have negotiated. But you can't negotiate with slavers who have no intention of honoring their agreements. Back on Earth, Hyun sat in a secure command center, monitoring communications from across the galaxy. He led humanity's intelligence division, the organization that had spent decades breaking collective encryption and gathering evidence. Ambassador Aaron is doing well, reported one of his analysts. Public opinion is shifting. The Orion Alliance has released a statement supporting our position. 3 neutral worlds have done the same. What about the collective's response? Hyun asked. They're scrambling. The Velaran Empire is calling for a military coalition against Earth. But so far only 2 species have agreed. Most are waiting to see what happens. Hyun studied the strategic display. They're isolated. The evidence we released has damaged their credibility. Keep monitoring their communications. If they plan military action, I want to know immediately. The analyst hesitated. Sir, we're picking up interesting chatter from the subjugated species. The ones held under false debts like we were. They're asking questions. Getting organized. Good, Hyun said. That's exactly what we hoped for. Forward any requests for assistance to the appropriate channels. If they want to follow our example, we'll help them. On the diplomatic station orbiting Concordia, Representatives from the Orion Alliance requested a private meeting with Aaron. She met them in a secure chamber, accompanied by Yuna as her aide. The Orion representative was a tall being with silver skin and large eyes. "Ambassador Aaron, the Alliance has reviewed the evidence you presented. We find the collective's actions unacceptable. We appreciate your support," Aaron replied carefully. "We offer more than support," the representative continued. "The Orion Alliance wishes to establish formal relations with Earth, trade agreements, technology exchange, mutual defense pact." Yuna leaned forward. "In exchange for what?" "Honesty," the representative said. "We've seen what your species can do. Your technology surpasses collective standards. We want partnership, not confrontation. The collective has dominated galactic politics for too long. It's time for a new balance of power." Aaron considered this. The Orion Alliance was powerful, second only to the collective itself. An alliance with them would protect Earth from retaliation. But it would also draw humanity into galactic politics on a much larger scale. "We'll need to discuss this with our government," she said. "But Earth is open to friendship with all peaceful species." Meanwhile, on the Velaran homeworld, Emperor Thronvas faced his war council. The room was tense. The Empire had never suffered such humiliation. "The humans made us look weak," one general said. "If we don't respond with force, other species will think they can challenge us too." "We tried force," another general replied. "They destroyed our fleet in 11 minutes. What makes you think a larger attack would succeed?" "Because we'll bring overwhelming numbers," the first general insisted. "Every ship the Empire can muster. We'll crush them before they can deploy their technology against us." Thronvas listened to his advisors argue. Part of him wanted revenge, wanted to see Earth burn for its insolence. But another part, the part that had kept him alive and in power for 50 years, recognized reality. "How many species have responded to our call for a coalition?" he asked. His intelligence officer answered reluctantly. "Two, Emperor. The Draxians and the Zulkar. Everyone else has declined or hasn't responded." "Because of the evidence the humans released," Thronvas said. "They made us look like slavers. Like criminals. Half the galaxy thinks we got what we deserved, which is why we must act quickly," the war general insisted. "Before more species turn against us, we gather our forces and strike Earth with everything we have. Show the galaxy that the collective is still powerful. Or," Thronvas said slowly, "we acknowledge reality. The humans defeated us. They exposed our corruption. Continuing this fight will only isolate us further, and potentially cost us everything. Perhaps it's time to adapt." The War Council fell silent. The Emperor had spoken. Back in the Galactic Senate, Aaron concluded her presentation. "Earth doesn't seek empire. We don't want to conquer or dominate. We simply want what every species deserves. Freedom, sovereignty, the right to chart our own course among the stars." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But we will defend that right. We have the technology. We have the will. And we have something else. We have the memory of what oppression feels like. We will never allow it to happen again, not to us, not to any species." "The Senate will consider everything presented today," the chairman announced. "We will reconvene tomorrow to vote on formal recognition of Earth's sovereignty." As Aaron left the chamber, representatives from other subjugated species approached her. "A Kelthan, a Drexus, a Torvan. Is it really possible?" the Kelthan asked. "Can we be free like you?" Aaron smiled. "We'll help you. Every species held under false debt. Every victim of the collective's corruption. If you want freedom, Earth will stand with you. That's a promise." Word spread through the galaxy. Earth wasn't just fighting for itself. It was offering hope to every oppressed species. The balance of power was shifting. Not through conquest, but through justice. And the collective, for the first time in its history, found itself on the defensive. The species that had ruled through force and fear was being challenged. Not by another empire, but by an idea. The idea that freedom is worth fighting for. That chains, no matter how long worn, can be broken. That the oppressed, given time and determination, can become the powerful. Humanity had proven it was possible. Now others would follow. The day arrived under clear Earth skies. From orbit, the planet looked beautiful, blue and white and peaceful. Jiho stood on the observation deck of the ceremony station, wearing formal clothes instead of his work uniform. Around him, thousands of humans gathered, all dressed for what the collective called a celebration of freedom. But hidden in their formal clothes, many wore small pins, a phoenix rising from broken chains, the symbol of the underground. A signal to each other that they knew what was really about to happen. The ceremony station was enormous, built specifically for this event. Ships from 47 different species surrounded it. The Velaran Emperor's flagship was the largest, a golden vessel that dominated the space around Earth. Its weapons were powered down as a sign of peace, a sign of confidence. Hana stood beside Jiho, her face calm but her hands trembling slightly. "Are you scared?" she whispered. "Terrified," he admitted, "but also ready." Nearby, Yuna spoke quietly with other humans. She had been coordinating with resistance members on other worlds. If this worked, if humanity succeeded, it would inspire others. 17 species lived under similar occupation by the collective. They were all watching today, the ceremony hall filled with dignitaries, Velaran officials in their ornate uniforms, delegates from dozens of species. They talked and laughed, celebrating humanity's transformation from conquered species to grateful junior partners. None of them noticed the tension among the humans. None of them saw the small signals being passed. Overseer Krathnor stood near the front looking pleased with himself. He had overseen human labor for 30 years. In his mind, he had civilized a primitive species, made them useful. Today was his triumph too. President Siak entered the hall. He was an old man, chosen by the collective because they thought he would be easy to control. What they didn't know was that Siak had been part of the underground since its founding. He had spent decades pretending to be compliant while secretly coordinating resistance efforts. The Velaran Emperor, Thronvas, took his place at the center of the platform. He was enormous even for his species, with elaborate decorations covering his 4 arms. His presence filled the room. This was a being who ruled thousands of worlds, who commanded fleets that could destroy planets. "Today marks a historic moment," Thronvas announced, his voice amplified throughout the station. 127 years ago, humanity challenged the collective. They learned a hard lesson about their place in the galaxy, but they also showed capacity for growth, for learning. Today we acknowledge that their debt is paid. Today humanity joins the collective as free members. Applause filled the hall. Only the humans remained silent, waiting. President Siak approached the podium. He was supposed to give a speech of gratitude, to thank the collective for their mercy, for the opportunity to serve, to accept humanity's new position as junior partners in the galactic order. Outside the station, hidden in the dark spaces between planets, Admiral Deho gave the signal. "All ships," he commanded from the bridge of the Absolute Resolve, "emerge on my mark. 3, 2, 1, execute." Space tore open. Quantum slip space portals appeared throughout Earth's orbital space. From each one, ships emerged. Dozens at first, then hundreds. Human warships, dark and deadly, taking position around the collective fleet. Alarms began shrieking throughout the ceremony station. Velaran officers ran to viewing ports and saw what was happening. Their faces showed confusion, then shock, then fear. President Siak began his speech. "We paid your debt," he said calmly. "Every credit, every resource, every year of forced labor. According to your own laws, we have fulfilled our obligations completely." Thronvas rose from his seat, his expression furious. "What is the meaning of—" "I'm not finished," Siak interrupted. The entire hall went silent. No one interrupted the Velaran Emperor, ever. "For 127 years you held us in chains. You took our freedom, our dignity, our future. You believed we would accept this forever. You were wrong." On the tactical displays throughout the station, everyone could see the human fleet. The collective ships were completely surrounded. The Absolute Resolve positioned itself directly above the Emperor's flagship, its massive weapons powered and aimed. "You taught us to build your weapons," Siak continued, "to maintain your ships, to operate your technology. You never considered that we might use that knowledge for ourselves. That was your first mistake." Krathnor pushed forward through the crowd. "This is treason. You were given freedom. We were enslaved," Hana spoke up from the crowd. "Don't pretend otherwise. You held us under an impossible debt and extended it whenever you wanted. We found the records. The original debt should have been paid 80 years ago. You kept us working because we were useful." More evidence appeared on the hall's main display. Documents showing how the collective had manipulated debt calculations, how they had added false charges, how they had never intended to let humanity go. Yuna stepped forward, activating a communication device. We've sent this evidence to every independent species in the galaxy. The Orion Alliance, the Free Traders, the Neutral Worlds. Everyone now knows what the collective did. Not just to us, but to 17 other species held under similar false debts. Enough, Thronvas roared. He activated his command console, sending orders to the collective fleet. All ships destroy these human vessels. Show them the price of rebellion. The Velaran warships powered their weapons. The other collective species followed orders, targeting the human fleet. For a moment it seemed like a massacre was about to begin. Then the human ships opened fire. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. The gravitational disruptors activated, targeting 3 Velaran destroyers. The massive ships simply came apart, torn into pieces by forces that disrupted their molecular structure. The debris scattered into space, silent and deadly. Swarm drones launched from human carriers, thousands of them, moving in perfect coordination. They overwhelmed collective point defense systems, striking with precision at weapon systems and engines. Ship after ship went dark, disabled but not destroyed. The Absolute Resolve fired a single shot, a beam of concentrated dark matter that passed through a collective cruiser's shields like they weren't there. The ship's power core overloaded and the vessel went dead in space, its crew unharmed but completely helpless. On the Absolute Resolve's bridge, Suk monitored the battle. He was young for his position, but he had trained for this his entire life. His tactical display showed every collective ship, every human vessel, every weapon firing. Target their engines and weapons only, he commanded. We're not here to commit genocide. We're here to prove a point. The human fighters joined the battle, piloted by enhanced humans like Jinwoo. His neural link to his ship made him move with impossible speed and precision. He disabled 3 collective fighters in under a minute, his weapons precise enough to cripple without killing. The collective fleet tried to fight back, but they were outdated, outmatched. Their weapons hit human shields and did nothing. The adaptive technology absorbed each attack, learning and adjusting. Some human ships took damage, but nothing critical. In the ceremony hall, everyone watched the displays in horror. The entire battle lasted 11 minutes. When it ended, 60% of the collective fleet was disabled. The rest had withdrawn to safe distances, unwilling to continue a fight they couldn't win. President Siok spoke again, his voice carried across every communication channel in the system. We don't want war. We don't want to conquer. We want what you owe us. Our freedom. Our dignity. Our right to exist without masters. He turned to face Thronvas directly. Here are our terms. All collective forces will leave Earth's system within 72 hours. All occupation infrastructure will be dismantled. All records of our debt will be marked as paid in full. And humanity will be recognized as a sovereign, independent species, not junior partners, equals. And if we refuse? Thronvas asked, his voice barely controlled rage. Admiral Deho's voice came through the speakers. Then we demonstrate what these weapons can do at full power. Your choice, Emperor. Peace or annihilation. The hall was silent. The most powerful empire in the galaxy had just been defeated in minutes by the species they had enslaved, the species they had dismissed as clever servants. Finally, Thronvas spoke. The collective will consider your terms. You have 12 hours, Siok replied. After that, we start enforcing them. Jiho watched as collective officials filed out of the hall, their faces showing shock and humiliation. The galaxy's power structure had just shifted in 11 minutes. Hana squeezed his hand. We did it. We did, he agreed. But he knew this was just the beginning. The battle was won. Now came the harder part, building a future. Jiho stood at the viewing port of Station Gamma 7, watching the stars beyond the reinforced glass. His hands were covered in grease from another 12-hour shift building warships for the Velaran Empire. The same empire that had conquered Earth 127 years ago. The same empire that had turned humanity into servants and laborers across the galaxy. Another long day? Hana's voice came from behind him. His sister worked 3 levels below, processing data for the collective's supply chains. She looked tired, like everyone else wearing the gray uniforms of human workers. They want the new destroyer finished by next week, Jiho said. We'll make it happen. We always do. Hana moved closer and lowered her voice. Did you hear? Overseer Krathnor made an announcement today. They're saying the debt will be paid in 1 month, Jiho's heart jumped, but he kept his face calm. 127 years ago, Earth had tried to fight the Velaran Empire during First Contact. The war lasted 6 months. Humanity lost badly. The surrender terms were brutal. 500 trillion credits, complete military disarmament, forced labor to build the collective's infrastructure. Every ship, every station, every weapon system built by human hands for more than a century. 1 month, Jiho repeated. After all this time, they stood in silence. Around them, the station hummed with activity. Thousands of humans worked here, building the machines of their oppression. But Jiho and Hana knew something the Velaran didn't. Something the entire Galactic Collective had missed for over a century. Humanity had been preparing. Later that night, Jiho made his way to Section 14B, a maintenance area rarely monitored. He entered a storage room and moved a panel aside. Behind it was a small chamber where 5 other humans waited. These were members of the Underground, the secret network that had existed since the early days of occupation. Everyone heard the news? Asked Minji, the group's senior engineer. She was older than the others, one of the few who remembered Earth before the conquest. 1 month until freedom, said Yuna, who worked as a translator in the diplomatic section. Krathnor thinks we'll thank them. He actually believes we'll be grateful. They think we're broken, Taeyang added. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with eyes that had seen too much. Before the war, his grandfather had been an admiral in Earth's defense force. Taeyang carried that legacy in secret. Jiho sat down on a metal crate. What's the status of the hidden projects? Minji pulled up a data pad, making sure it was disconnected from any network. The Kuiper Belt facilities are at 98% completion. We have 427 ships fully operational, another 600 in final assembly. The weapon systems are online and tested. And the absolute resolve? Taeyang asked. Ready, Minji said with a small smile. Everything we learned from building their ships we made better. The gravitational disruptors alone could tear apart anything in the collective's fleet. For 127 years, humanity had been the galaxy's best shipbuilders. The Velaran valued human precision and creativity. They never wondered why humans could complete projects ahead of schedule. They never questioned the supply manifest that showed materials going to one project when they actually went to another. They never detected the hidden facilities in the outer solar system, shielded by technology humanity had quietly developed. The collective made one critical mistake. They assumed that servants would stay servants. They never imagined that the species building their weapons was also learning how to build better ones. What about the other subjugated species? Hana asked. Have they responded? Yuna nodded. Quietly. The Kelthans, the Drexus, the Torvin people. They're all watching us. If we succeed, they'll know it's possible. If we fail... She didn't finish the sentence. We won't fail, Taeyang said. His voice was firm. Our ancestors surrendered to save humanity from extinction. They accepted change so their children could survive. We've honored their sacrifice by staying alive, by learning, by preparing. In 1 month, we honor them by taking back our freedom. Jiho thought about his great-grandmother. She had been alive during the conquest. She told him stories before she died, about Earth before the gray ships came, about cities that gleamed under their own sun, about humans who walked freely without permission from alien masters. She made him promise to remember, to never accept this life as normal. The ceremony will be on Earth orbit, Hana said. Representatives from 47 collective species will attend. The Velaran Emperor himself is coming. Perfect, Taeyang said. Let them all watch. Over the next weeks, the station buzzed with unusual energy. The Velaran overseer Krathnor seemed pleased with himself. He walked through the human work areas, commenting on how far humanity had come, how they should be proud to have served the collective, how their freedom was a gift from benevolent masters. Jiho watched him during one of these speeches. Krathnor was tall, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. He wore the medals of a high-ranking collective officer. He truly believed his own words. In his mind, humanity should be grateful. The collective had allowed them to survive, had given them purpose, had civilized them. You humans are fortunate, Krathnor said to a gathering of workers. Many species that challenged us were simply eliminated. You were given a chance to prove your worth, and you have done so admirably. In 1 month, you will be free to join the collective as junior partners. A great honor, junior partners. Not equals. Never equals. Jiho returned to his quarters that night and looked at the small photograph he kept hidden. It showed Earth from space taken before the conquest, the blue planet that had birthed humanity, the home that had been turned into a work camp. His communicator blinked. A message from Taeyang, encoded in a way only underground members could read. The fleet moves into position in 3 weeks. Admiral Command confirmed. Everyone is ready. Jiho felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not hope, exactly. Hope was for people who waited for things to get better. This was different. This was certainty. Humanity had been patient, had been careful, had played the role of servants while building something the galaxy had never seen. In 1 month, the Galactic Collective expected a ceremony of gratitude. They would get something very different. Jiho deleted the message and lay back on his narrow bed. He thought about his great-grandmother's stories, about cities under Earth's sun, about freedom soon, he thought. Very soon the galaxy would learn what happens when you mistake patience for weakness, when you assume chains make people weak instead of teaching them to forge stronger steel. The countdown had begun. The transport ship moved through the darkness beyond Neptune's orbit. Officially, it carried maintenance supplies to outer system mining operations. Actually, it carried Jiho, Hana, and 15 other underground members to humanity's greatest secret. Taeyang piloted the ship personally. He knew every patrol route, every sensor blind spot. For decades, humanity had mapped the collective's surveillance network. They knew exactly where to go and when to move. Coming up on the facility, Taeyang announced. Through the viewport, Jiho saw nothing but darkness and distant stars. Then Taeyang entered a code and reality seemed to shift. The quantum stealth field dropped, revealing what had been hidden for over a century. Ships, hundreds of them. They floated in perfect formation, dark and silent. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and support vessels, all built in secret, assembled piece by piece from materials diverted over decades. Each one incorporated everything humanity had learned from building the collective's fleet, then improved upon it. First time seeing it? Minji asked, noticing Jiho's expression. Yes, he managed to say. I knew about it, but seeing it... We've been building this since year 15 of the occupation, Minji explained. The early underground leaders knew we couldn't fight back immediately. So they made a plan, a long plan. Every ship we built for the collective, we kept a percentage of materials. Every new technology they gave us to study, we learned to make better. Every mistake they made, we remembered. Hana pointed to a massive vessel at the center of the formation. It was larger than anything else, shaped like a blade cutting through space. Is that the Absolute Resolve? Taeyang confirmed. Humanity's first dreadnought. Took 40 years to complete. They docked at the main facility, a hollowed-out asteroid that had been converted into a shipyard and command center. Inside, thousands of people worked. These were the lucky ones, humans who had been secretly reassigned to the hidden project. Officially dead or lost in accidents, they had spent years building humanity's future. Admiral Daeho met them at the entrance. He was an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes. Before the conquest, his family line had produced 3 generations of military officers. Now he commanded Earth's secret fleet. Welcome to Firebase Prime, Daeho said. Come, there's much to show you. He led them through corridors carved from rock and reinforced with human engineering. They passed workshops where technicians assembled weapon systems, training rooms where pilots practiced in simulators, command centers where strategists planned operations. We have 4,300 people stationed here permanently, Daeho explained. Another 8,000 rotate in and out on the supply ships. The collective thinks they're working mining operations. How did you hide all this? Hana asked. Carefully, Minji answered. Quantum stealth fields to hide from sensors. False data fed into collective monitoring systems. Every supply shipment meticulously planned. We even created fake accident reports to explain missing materials. It took perfect coordination across thousands of people for over a century. They entered the main command center. Holographic displays showed the entire solar system, with markers indicating fleet positions and patrol routes. Jiho saw the collective's ships marked in red, humanity's hidden fleet in blue. The collective has 63 ships in our system right now, Daeho said. They think that's enough to keep us controlled. They're wrong. A young woman approached. Her name was Nari, and she worked in the intelligence division. Admiral, we've received confirmation. The ceremony will take place exactly 1 month from today. The Velaran Emperor and representatives from 47 species will attend. Excellent, Deho said. That gives us time for final preparations. He turned to the group. What you're about to see is classified at the highest level. The technology we've developed goes beyond anything the collective has. We didn't just match them. We surpassed them. They walked to a secure laboratory. Inside, scientists worked on devices that looked alien even to Jiho, who had spent his life building advanced machinery. Gravitational disruptors, Minji explained, pointing to a sleek weapon system. They can destabilize molecular bonds, tear ships apart from the inside. The collective has nothing like this. Dark matter reactors, said another scientist. Triple the power output of standard fusion systems. Our ships can run circles around theirs. Adaptive shielding, added a third. Our shields learn from each attack and adjust in real time. The more they shoot at us, the stronger our defenses become. Yuna looked overwhelmed. How did we develop all this without them knowing? They gave us the pieces, Minji said with a slight smile. Every technology they shared with us we studied and improved. Every limitation in their designs we solved. The collective thinks humans are good at following instructions. They never realized we were innovating the whole time. Taiyang added. They also made a crucial mistake. They never believed we could understand quantum physics better than they could. They were wrong. Human scientists achieved breakthroughs they couldn't imagine. We just kept quiet about it. Admiral Deho led them to another section where rows of small, sleek craft waited in launching bays. Fighter-class vessels, piloted by enhanced humans. Enhanced? Jiho asked. Cybernetic improvements, Deho explained. Reaction times increased by 300%. Neural links to ship systems. We developed this technology from medical advances they let us research. They thought we were just improving prosthetics for injured workers. They spent hours touring the facility. Jiho saw drone swarms that could act as a coordinated intelligence, missiles that could track targets across light years, communication systems that couldn't be jammed, medical technology that could heal injuries in hours. Everything humanity needed to fight and win. Finally, they reached the observation deck overlooking the absolute resolve. The massive ship floated in space armed and ready. This ship alone could destroy the entire collective fleet in our system. Admiral Deho said quietly. But we won't need to do that. We're not conquerors. We just want our freedom. What's the plan for the ceremony? Hana asked. Deho pulled up a tactical display. The collective fleet will be positioned here above Earth orbit. They'll expect a celebration. President Seok will make a speech thanking them for our freedom. He smiled grimly. We'll give them a speech they'll never forget. Our fleet will emerge from slipspace at these coordinates, Taeyang continued, pointing to the display. We'll surround them completely. By the time they realize what's happening, it will be too late. Will they fight? Yuna asked. Probably, Deho said. The Velaran are proud. They won't surrender easily. But we have advantages they don't know about. Speed, firepower, and the element of surprise. Most importantly, we have something they lost long ago. What's that? Jiho asked. A reason to fight, Deho answered. Every person in this fleet knows what we're fighting for. Freedom, dignity, the right to exist without masters. The collective soldiers are just following orders. We're fighting for everything that matters. Nari spoke up from her workstation. Admiral, intelligence reports are coming in. We've been monitoring collective communications. They truly believe we'll be grateful. They're planning a parade, awards for outstanding human workers. They have no idea. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The collective had spent over a century teaching humanity to build weapons, organize logistics, and solve complex problems. They had created the perfect workforce. They never considered that this workforce might turn those skills against them. 1 month, Admiral Deho said. In 1 month, everything changes. The collective will learn that humanity isn't a species of servants. We're survivors, innovators, and when pushed to the edge, we're capable of things they can't imagine. Jiho looked out at the hidden fleet, ships built in darkness, prepared in secret, waiting for their moment. He thought about all the humans who had lived and died under collective rule. His great-grandmother, millions of others who never saw freedom. This was for them. For everyone who had suffered so their children could have a chance. We're ready, he said. And they were.